Hello and a heart welcome to another fresh edition of the Star Good Morning Show here on Star Television Network on Channel 21. I am your presenter Hassan Kuruma. Our inspirational quote for today is from Ralph Cooks, and he says the great secret of success is to go through life like a man who never got used up. Top stories in today's edition: President Julius Maada Bio, while reviewing the passing out parade and commission ceremony of over 300 combined women officers, cadets, and recruits at the Armed Forces Training Center, at their resilience and tenacity, but urge them not to involve in political affairs.
SimCorp allow old and young to make deposit and withdraw cash from their account at any time and anywhere. With Rokel Commercial Bank SimCorp, you can send and receive money at any place and any time. Rokel Commercial Bank don't make life better for we all.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Star Good Morning Show here on Star Television Network on Channel 21. Broadcast live from Media Hall Center at number 3 Mama Street, Buffalo in Freetown. With us in the studio is Thomas Mokonte. He is a renowned advocate for the lives of Sierra Leoneans, but he's here not to talk about the by-elections or to talk about another issue, but again, it has to do with human interest. Good morning, Thomas, and welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you in the studios. I know it has been tough advocating for Sierra Leoneans and as well as doing your job as a gentleman. But now let's talk about what you're here for. There was a donation. You facilitated the donation. Let's start off by let the viewers know what's the rationale behind this donation.
Yeah, and thank you once more for having me here. And I want to say good morning to all Sierra Leoneans. I hope we had a restful night. Basically, I am here this morning to follow up on a donation we actually carried out at Tombo. To give a background of this donation, I would want to say it's a donation that came from well-meaning Sierra Leoneans who are currently resident in Australia and who continue to follow events in Sierra Leone. There is a group of Sierra Leoneans comprised of people from different backgrounds within Sierra Leone, different cultures, different tribes, different regions, different political orientations, who actually thought it wise to come together and have a group that will be called SLADAC. That is Sierra Leone Descendant Association of Queensland. It is resident in Australia. And this organization has an objective of actually giving back to society, giving back to the people of Sierra Leone, especially in times of need, those poor communities, those poor people who are actually affected by challenging circumstances. This organization was established to actually provide aid, to actually come in and ameliorate the sufferings, the challenges that Sierra Leoneans face in the community in Australia and of course back home here in Sierra Leone. So when we had the flood in August, that we all know actually affected almost all communities in Sierra Leone, almost every Sierra Leone is affected because we are all one family. They thought it wise to come together and actually raise some funds and decided to send the money here back home to the tune of $4,500 Australian dollars. And then I was contacted by one of their members who, by all indications, is leading the organization currently in Australia by the name of ARP Thomas. ARP Thomas, of course, if you have been following social media, is one activist, advocate who has been actually following up on issues of national concern. He has been giving his views. He contacted me and said, I have been following you, I have seen you and your organization carry out some kind of feasibility studies on different sites where these floods took place. And our organization intends to actually carry out a donation exercise. We are looking out for a credible institution that will actually facilitate the distribution of whatever items the money will be actually providing. So I welcome the idea as an advocate for citizens of Sierra Leone. I believe that such initiatives should be welcomed. So what I did was to quickly get in touch with him and said we could actually do it. We would actually be very pleased as an organization, Citizens Advocacy Network, to provide the monitoring and to follow up, to do the groundwork, whilst they will provide the funds. So they provided the funds within marked time, of course. And then when they provided it, they have a representative here in Sierra Leone who was part of the organization, who is still part of the organization. He, of course, headed the organization at some point in time, Mr. Josiah. And we had meetings, several meetings, and we agreed that we should target one of the communities that were, of course, affected by the floods, but we have not seen much intervention in such a community. And then the need for us to target Tumbo came up. Tumbo community, we noticed that Tumbo was seriously hit by the disaster, but we have not seen much. So we decided to target them. We went to Tumbo, and then we did assessment of damage. We want to actually know how many people were affected, to what extent were they affected, and then what will be actually into the aid that will be provided to them. From what we realized, of course, there was a dire need for food items, especially rice for these people. They were complaining of hunger, that most of our foodstuff were carted away by the water, and we continue to face serious challenges in these times. So we went back and said, now there is a dire need for rice. So we decided to spend a huge sum of the money to procure over 150 bags of rice
Okay, so Thomas,
that we actually provided to them.
So come to the most of the things that were procured for those people at Tumbo. Now it could be clear that it's a laudable venture taken by those descendants in Australia. But again, one could think that mostly there's this perception that most people do those things with political intentions. How genuine are the intentions of these people in Australia?
Well,
because
I know. I agree with you.
It's mostly done by people with political intentions.
I agree with you.
And at some point, how genuine are these intentions?
I agree with you definitely. And that is why, deliberately, in my opening remarks, I said it's an organization that is comprised of people from diverse backgrounds.
Okay.
You have people from different political parties, different political orientations. You have different tribes, different regions, different creeds, different beliefs, you understand, that constitutes this organization. And so the intent and the objective of this organization is to actually help Sierra Leoneans, especially in need. And they have been doing it. This is not the first time they have been doing it, I must say. The organization was established since 2002. Sierra Leone Descendant Association, Queensland, resident in Australia. They have been doing similar interventions. When there was some kind of challenge at Krube, there was some kind of flood. It was in 2016 or so. They also made similar intervention. When there was a mudslide in Sierra Leone, they also came in handy and supported those people who were affected by the mudslide by providing them with different items, relief items. So this is not the first time they have been doing it, and they have been doing it successfully. The only difference here is this is the first time we have been involved in it as an organization, Citizens Advocacy Network. So that is the only thing that is new. So the question of whether there is some kind of political intent, I know that most people undertake programs, maybe they have political intentions
to set the pace for the next election.
To set the pace for next election. Some man gets intention for contest. But these people are not politicians, I must say.
Okay.
These are well-meaning Sierra Leoneans. I consider them patriots. I was really thrilled. I must say I'm thrilled by the show of humanitarian gesture coming from Sierra Leoneans abroad. And this is a wake-up call to other Sierra Leoneans who are living elsewhere, that you could actually give back to your society. Okay. Sierra Leone is a society that is faced with a number of challenges. It could not be through floods. It could not be through mudslide. It could not be through giving people food items or what have you. But there are different ways you could actually intervene to help Sierra Leoneans in need. If you go across the country, if you go across communities in the city, even in the city, you realize that there are still people who live in abject poverty. There are still people who live in squalor. There is need for intervention. There is need for us to join forces as Sierra Leoneans in diverse ways to support our compatriots that are in need. If you are there, I only hope that, of course, you had a correspondent there during the program. You see Sierra Leoneans who are queuing up to receive that minute donation from SLADAC. But you look at the faces of these people, you see hungry faces. But at the end of the day, you see them appreciate the fact that people who are out of this country will actually think of them. It gives them hope. It gives them it brings a sigh of relief that indeed we are each other's keeper.
Okay, so once continue to stay with us, you give us more details about the things procured and again why Tumbo. You still with the Star Good Morning Show. We go for our first insert this morning. President Julius Maada Bio, while reviewing the passing out parade and commissioning ceremony of over 300 Armed Forces Training Center, commended the soldiers for their resilience and tenacity, but urged them not to involve in partisan politics. Our reporter, Abdulrahman Kamara, was there and filing this report.
With support from the government of Sierra Leone and the International Security and Advisory Team, ISAT, the first female recruitment training after 40 years has been commissioned on Saturday, 7 September 2019 at the Benguima Training Center. Brigadier General Augustine Kinifefegula, Commandant Armed Forces Training Center, said the first ever training for this nature was conducted in 1978 and 1979 when a total of 74 female were enlisted into the military, adding that the 2019 Special Direct Entry, Cadet and Recruit courses is the largest in the history of the Sierra Leone Armed Forces. Brigadier General Augustine Kinifefegula intimated that this special recruitment is part of the drive by the military to push female participation in the army with a 25% quota of women and to reduce the gender gap in the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces.
That I welcome you all on behalf of the Chief of Defense Staff and personnel of the Armed Forces Training Center to the passing out parade and commissioning ceremony of the Special Female 2019 Direct Entry Commissioning Course and Direct Entry Recruit Course, DEC and DAC for short. Today, you will be witnessing the graduation ceremony of 327 female trainees, comprising of 59 officer cadets and 268 recruits into the armed staff as officers and other ranks respectively. They include infantry, specialists, and trace personnel. The training we are witnessing its conclusion today started on the 9th March 2019. 326 civilians who were selected for the Special Female DEC and DAC 2019 training reported at the center on said date for their transformation to serving members of the armed staff. Added to these civilians were 6 soldiers also selected for commissioning, making a total of 332 trainees at the commencement of the Special Female DAC and DAC 2019 training. Out of the 6 soldiers, 1 will be commissioned as second lieutenant, and the others will be commissioned as lieutenant based on their respective civil qualifications. All of them went through the same process together with their civilian counterparts. The Special Female DAC and DAC 2019 training is geared towards enhancing gender mainstreaming in the armed staff, in addition to meeting the U.S. requirement of female participation in every peacekeeping force. It may interest you to know that the last time all-female recruitment was done in armed staff was in 1978 with 10 cadets and in 1979 with 64 recruits. Though females have been recruited thereafter.
While delivering his presidential commission address, the reviewing officer and commander-in-chief of the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces, retired Brigadier General Dr. Julius Maada Bio, called on commissioning officers to stay apolitical and commit themselves to the values and principles of the military profession. Commander-in-Chief of the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces, His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio, committed his administration to improve not only the standards of living of service personnel, but minimize the gender gap in the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces.
We believe that inclusive and sustainable development is only possible when 51% of the country's population is proactively engaged alongside 49% male population to participate in nation building. So when my government and the Office of the First Lady launched the national campaign against early child marriage and all forms of sexual predation through the Hands Off Our Girls campaign, it is because we believe that girls must be allowed to thrive and be supported and allowed to be all they want to become and to achieve all their dreams. When my government made a national declaration on rape and sexual and gender-based violence, we did so because we believe our laws and institutions should guarantee the security and dignity of girls and women in particular. When I appointed women as Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Minister of Fisheries and Marine Resources, Minister of Social Welfare, Gender and Women's Affairs, Minister of Tourism, Resident Minister Northwest, and deputies in the ministries of Finance, Education, Local Government, Water Resources, and several more senior positions in government and in the judiciary. It is because I believe that the elevated levels of participation of women in governance is good for national cohesion and inclusive development. When my government pronounced free quality education and dedicated 21% of national budget to education, safe spaces for girls, school feeding, teaching and learning materials, and offered full scholarship to girls admitted to study STEM disciplines at university, it is because we believe that equity of access to educational opportunities will produce for this nation not unemployed teenage mothers and school dropouts, but women doctors, nurses, scientists, accountants, entrepreneurs, engineers, civil servants, and outstanding soldiers like the one standing before me. And when my government, in conjunction with the United Kingdom government and the International Security Advisory Team, ISAC, launched the special female recruitment, it is because we believe that expanding the presence and role of women in the national security sector is good for our national peace, cohesion, and development, and good for expanding our role in international peacekeeping and peace support operations in the world.
The rationale for the all-female recruitment is in line with the fulfillment of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission recommendation of 30% female involvement in every public sector and adhering to the UN policy on peace support operations, which emphasize 15% female participation as a precondition for the deployment of any peacekeeping mission. It could be recalled that on December 15, 2018, the First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Mrs. Fatima Bio, launched the female recruitment drive alongside her Girl Child Protection Initiative, dubbed as Hands Off Our Girls. On the 6th March 2019, the Ministry of Defense and the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces completed the selection process of a total of 2,968 female applicants across the country. The selection process included education, physical fitness, medical tests, and final selection board interview. It could be recalled that immediately after the pronouncement of the special female recruitment, it attracted applicants from various regions across the country, with only 300 enlisted for consideration in the different categories. Arslaf 712 Mariama Mansare won an award for the best firer, sponsored by the Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Brahma Boure Sise, while Arslaf AG 697 Mariatu Kamara won the all-round recruit, for which the award was sponsored by the First Lady, Mrs. Fatima Bio, and Arslaf Veronica Hawa Sao won the all-round officer, which is the presidential award. Reporting for Star News in Freetown, compiled by Abdurrahman Kamara, read in our studios by Hassan Kouma.
Many thanks to our defense correspondent Abdurrahman Kamara for putting that story together. We want to say welcome to our newly soldiers into the armed forces, and we hope they are there to what the president said, to be apolitical, because they are there to serve the country. With us still in the studio is Thomas Mokonte. We are discussing about a donation he facilitated on behalf of some descendants in Australia to the people of Tombo. Thomas, let's now talk about what were the stuff that were donated to these people. You started talking about rice and all. What were the things?
Yeah, well, basically we focused on rice, rice exclusively, because we were thinking of having certain provisions like milk, sugar, butter, and what have you. But we upon second thought again, we said those people have the tendency of maybe selling them or not even utilizing them, and then the desired effect will not be actually met. So that is why we said, okay, now let's buy rice that they will actually see need to use. Most people do not see need for milk, sugar, cocoa butter, or what have you. But what they want to actually make use of, the rice, it's something that every family needs, every household needs, and that is why we procured huge quantity of rice, which we distributed to the people out there, and they appreciated it because, as I told you, these are people who are really constrained. These are people who actually find it difficult to make a living.
From a human interest point of view, how was it like for the people after going through such trauma? Some people lost their family members, some lost their properties. How was it like for them receiving such gesture from some goodwill people out of the country?
Yeah, well, you could actually imagine the psychological feeling that they actually what they go through currently psychologically. Some have lost family members as a result of the disaster. Some lost their children. Some have lost their homes. They have lost all their life savings. You see, these are challenging moments for them. And such aids coming in from Sierra Leoneans who are not here, who are currently abroad, Australia, SLEDAC, is commendable. And this should be a wake-up call to colleagues, Sierra Leoneans, compatriots out there, that if Sierra Leone Descendants Association in Queensland could actually do it, then I want to believe that Sierra Leoneans living in other parts of the world should think of such initiatives. Or if they are doing it, then we want to say congratulations to them and that they should continue doing it. Because our people continue to face challenges in different communities. Government cannot provide all the resources. Government cannot do everything for the people. But when you continue to have such aids coming in, it complements government efforts. And it helps in ameliorating the suffering of the masses. And that is why we want to actually thank SLEDAC and its membership that is comprised of people from different facets of society.
So what were the response of the people within the Tombo community after receiving that gesture? I'm quite sure it could have been a very
Oh, definitely. Even upon receiving the information that some kind of aid is coming in from SLEDAC, they were so pleased. They were in jubilant mood. They were coming around from the first day we started going there, having dialogue with them, having, of course, engagement to know who was affected and who were actually adversely affected, because we have degrees of damage. Most people were not actually that affected by the floods and what have you. Some lost their lives, some lost families, So this donation targeted those people who actually were adversely affected. We could not actually provide for all. It would be very impossible. Even government cannot provide for all. But this was just a kind gesture to show that Sierra Leoneans living abroad, SLEDAC, have this humanitarian feeling for compatriots in this country. And that they could think of Sierra Leoneans in times of need and actually come together, raise some resources out of what they do. They too have that need for resources. But if they could actually think of that and send to the country in this period of economic hardship, in this period of economic downturn, then they were so they appreciated it so much.
And Thomas, I tell you, they ought to be happy, taking into consideration how much a bag of rice is being sold in the market.
Oh, yes.
Let's see what happened during the ceremony. Sierra Leone Descendants Association of Queensland, Australia, SLEDAC, in collaboration with Citizens Advocacy Network and Democracy Sierra Leone, has on Saturday, September 7, 2019, donated food items worth millions of leones to flood victims in Tombo community. Well, Alfie Barry, our reporter, was there and sent his report.
As the people of Tombo still continues to battle with the aftermath of the August 6 flooding, which rendered hundreds homeless, the people are still desperate as the flood victims are still struggling to make ends meet. So there is no better time for much needed aid to pour in. It is against this backdrop that a group of Sierra Leoneans who are resident in Queensland, Australia, decided to cobble together their own resources to help their fellow Sierra Leoneans in Tombo. Patrick Joshua is a representative of Sierra Leone Descendants Association of Queensland. He gave a brief background to their organization.
Well, yes, in our own state, we have been looking and taking care of our community, that's the Sierra Leone community. But after which, when we actually grouped up, we started looking far back now to say we can look back and see if there's any issue that we need to intervene in our own country, to go back and intervene. So we started that with the flood at Bill. So when that flood was there, we came together, we looked into our coffer, there was some money, and we also rallied around our community members for people to contribute so that we'll come and do something. So we raised up to 40 million leones. We came over. I was the one that did the distribution again that time, because every year I come to Sierra Leone here. So we distributed rice, milk, sugar, and other condiments to victims there. So after that, there was this Ebola outbreak also. We also came together, we said, well, we want to help again. But that one was in Kenema. We went to Kenema and we did some help at the center that was there, the Ebola center. We gave some food.
Patrick Josiah added that this donation will not make up for the people's loss, but rather it is just to show that there are people in the diaspora who are thinking about them and promise that they are working assiduously to scale up their aid to vulnerable groups in the country. Thomas Mokonte is the executive chair of Citizens Advocacy Network and was one of the civil society groups who was in charge of coordinating the distribution process. He expressed delight and said that this should inspire other well-meaning Sierra Leoneans to take up such venture. He added that CAN and Democracy Sierra Leone will continue to partner with any organization who wants to help the downtrodden, as that is the ethos of their civil society organizations.
Descendants Association in Queensland. This organization has been carrying out similar philanthropic gestures in terms of challenges and disasters. During the mudslide, they galvanized themselves and brought in some amount of Australian dollars, which they used to actually help people who were affected by the mudslide. During the floods at Kube or one of you, they also intervened and supported people in their little way. And this year, they were also touched by the floods that affected different communities in Sierra Leone. We all know that the floods, of course, this year was unprecedented. So what they did was to send some thousands of Australian dollars to their liaison here, who was also head of the organization, Mr. Josiah, who has been liaising with us as an organization, an advocacy institution, to actually meet the people and actually identify areas and communities or households that were affected by this disaster. And we were able to spot Tombo Because what we have noticed is that the people of Tombo have been neglected in terms of relief items for these disasters. Maybe it's because of the distance, they are quickly forgotten. So that is why we decided to actually target them. That is the specific reason. And today, as you see, this is a process going on. We have actually been able to procure some food items for them, which we intend targeting at least 300 affected flood victims and families. So this is what is going on today. This is a wake-up call to other Sierra Leoneans who are out there who have similar organizations or who have their little resources to actually direct them to these initiatives. We have a lot of communities that are in need. We have a lot of deprived people in this part of the world.
Marcus Bangura, who is the head of Democracy Sierra Leone, said that even though the August 6 flooding affected a large section of the country, but they decided to focus their attention specifically to Tombo because he said they are always left on the fringes when it comes to aid distribution. He furthered that these food items came at a time when the people needed it most, as people are still reeling from the devastation of August 6. In a heavily packed hall, the flood victims stood in long queue and each presented a coupon to show that they are the rightful beneficiaries.
This area, really this supply, it makes me feel loud in the sense, I believe say, for more this supply that happen, for now the first this for life will get supply. Really, I tell God thank you then, I tell the agencies then thank you, we can do this thing, let God continue to bless them, abundantly, more than waiting they don't can do.
Upon receiving the rice, many expressed delight for such kind gesture and they thanked SLADEC and various civil society groups for such kind gesture. From the look of things, the people of that community are in dire need of help, especially when we are in the eve of the reopening of school. At least, with this food aid, they will have some respite for a couple of days. However, the government and its relevant partners needs to devise a permanent solution to this recurring problem in Tombo. For Star News, Alfie Barry reporting.
Many thanks to Alfie Barry for putting that report together. From us, you can see how much happy those people were. But again, I'm not trying to be an advocate for the people of Tombo. But again, I sense something that these people are really, they've been neglected. You can see how much they queue to get those donations. You can tell from their faces that they are really deprived. Do you see that in their faces?
Well, definitely. I said earlier that if you actually take a look at the community itself and its inhabitants, you agree with me that it's in need of serious aid. And the foodstuff we provided them was quite minute, though they appreciated it. We are not able to satisfy the huge chunk of people that were there, and it actually sends a message that we need to actually join forces as Sierra Leoneans, those of us who have the resources within and without Sierra Leone, to actually help those communities. It could not be in the form of foodstuff, it could be in different form. They are in need of facilities, they are in need of better living conditions. You go to the homes they live in, it's like it's like during days of slavery. And these are things that continue to undermine the rights, the human rights of these people. And you see, that is where we became very compassionate. You see, I was really touched seeing people who came in with affected victims of the floods. Some actually had damages. Some came with women who lost their kids. You see, a particular man who lost his wife to the floods. It was really challenging, and that is why we believe that it was actually a work of God from SLADEC. There is one thing I always believe: such humanitarian gestures are sanctioned by God. That when you do whatever you do to the least of my brethren, that you do unto me. That is one thing we believe as Christians in the Bible. And SLADEC has been able to do their bit to actually help those people that are in deprived conditions.
Thomas, are you in the capacity to determine what's the next step for SLADEC?
Well, SLADEC is an organization, as I told you, that has been in existence for the past since 2002.
Because
So
for all
using
we know,
mathematics.
there are hundreds of communities who are in dire need of these opportunities as well.
SLEDAC is an organization that has been in existence since 2002. And I also mentioned that they have been doing relief interventions, especially when we have problems. They have been actually targeting different communities, different areas, both here in Sierra Leone and even out there. The community is to actually help build a community of Sierra Leoneans that will be actually receptive to the wishes and aspirations of its membership, and of course these Sierra Leoneans, that Sierra Leone here that they come from. So and they have been able to do so over time with dignity and pride, and that is why we feel very pleased to associate ourselves with them. Citizens Advocacy Center, of course, Democracy Sierra Leone. We had of course Mr. Marcos Bangura, who is the head of Democracy Sierra Leone, who was of course part of the whole process to see how we could actually facilitate the distribution of those items, the food item, that the relief item that was provided by SLEDAC. So we appreciate it, and we believe that the people out there appreciated it, because from their responses, you saw it from their faces, people carrying the rice, going with joy. So it tells you that they are appreciative of the gesture, and we want to continue to advocate. This is very central.
Okay, so Thomas,
to
continue to stay with
organizations
us.
out there to continue helping.
Okay, continue to stay with us. When I come back next to you, we'll talk about how does it feel like for you moving away from normal advocacy, political issues, economical issues, and all, moving away from that and doing something different. We go for our next insert this morning. A high-power delegation from the People's Republic of China, led by Special Representative of President Xi Jinping, His Excellency Yang Xinjing, has held a dialogue forum with President Julius Maada Bio at State House on Friday, September 6, 2019. Well, the visit of the Chinese envoy is aimed at exchanging views with government officials on promoting bilateral ties, as well as discussing international and regional issues of common concern. Let's have more on that story.
A high-powered delegation from the People's Republic of China, led by the Special Representative of President Xi Jinping, His Excellency Yang Xinjing, has held a dialogue forum with President Julius Maada Bio at State House on Friday, September 6, 2019. The visit of the Chinese envoy is aimed at exchanging views with government officials on promoting bilateral ties, as well as discussing international and regional issues of common concern. Earlier, the high-power delegation paid a courtesy visit to the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Madam Nabila Tunis, while addressing her visitors at a conference hall on Tawail. The Honorable Minister expresses her profound thanks to the People's Republic of China for taking such a laudable venture, adding that Sierra Leone and the People's Republic of China have shared a long-standing friendship over the past years. She described the President of the Republic of China as a global champion.
President Xi is indeed a global champion, and since his ascension to power, friendly ties between China and Sierra Leone have grown stronger and stronger. As a holder of a PhD in history from the prestigious Nanjing University in China, I believe Mr. Yang understands the history of our friendship as well as we do. A Sino-Sierra Leone relationship spanning over the past 4 decades, which has been firmly anchored on mutual trust, respect, transparency, and great love for each other. In terms of a development miracle, China remains an undisputed global model. I strongly believe that sharing development, economic development ideas and approaches with China is a logical step that every developing country should take. And this is one of the reasons why Sierra Leone attaches great importance to its relationship with the Republic, the People's Republic of China. Let me use this opportunity to congratulate President Xi Jinping and the people of China on the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China.
His Excellency Yang Xinjing, the Special Representative of President Xi Jinping, explains on the motive of the visit and the friendship that have been in existence within the two countries.
此次呢，我作为习近平主席特别代表访问贵国，主要是表达 中方对比奥总统执政的坚定支持和中国人民对塞拉利昂人民的友好情谊，同塞方加强对接，进一步推动落实两国元首会晤共识和论坛北京峰会成果，使两国人民从中更多受益。
I am here this time in Sierra Leone as President Xi Jinping's special representative to express China's firm support to President Biel's presidency and the friendly sentiments of the Chinese people towards the people of Sierra Leone. Also, I look forward to working closely with Sierra Leone to make sure that the implementation of the agreements reached by our two top leaders will dovetail with the implementation of the outcomes of the FOCAC Beijing Summit so that we can make sure that the people of both countries will benefit from these efforts. I also wish to extend our sincere congratulations to you for the remarkable economic and social progress that the people of Sierra Leone has achieved under the leadership of President Biel and the Sierra Leone government.
比尔总统提出要发展人力资源，实现经济的多元化等等，这些都是作为一个杰出的政治家提出的重大的、有效的战略目标，是为塞拉利昂人民着想。
By making clear his commitment to investing in human capital and diversifying the economy, President Biel has demonstrated that he is truly an outstanding statesman who has made the suggestions on some very important and effective strategic goals for his country, and it shows that he's truly putting the well-being of his people first. But let me assure you, Honourable Minister, that China attaches full importance to Sierra Leone's desire to make further progress in its economic and social development, and we will do more to help Sierra Leone move towards this goal.
我们愿意进一步加强同塞方的农业和农业技术合作项目。
We will also enhance cooperation on projects concerning your agricultural sector and agricultural technology.
我们愿为塞方免费素质教育计划提供支持，愿继续提供政府奖学金和孵化培训名额。希望有助于贵国培养更多的青年人才。
China also stands ready to provide support to Sierra Leone's free quality education program. We will continue to provide government scholarships and training opportunities in China. Hopefully this will help Sierra Leone foster more young talents for your nation building.
The convoy of the Chinese delegates later moved to the State House to have a talk with President Julius Maada Bio. The Republic of China and Sierra Leone have enjoyed a long-standing relationship years ago. This has brought lots of benefits from China to Sierra Leone.
Welcome back. You're still with the Star Good Morning Show here on Star Television Network on Channel 21. With us in the studio is Thomas Mokonte. He's here to talk about a donation that was done at the Tumbo community by some descendants in Australia. As we're wrapping up now, Thomas Mo, I might be tempted to ask you this question. When you say Thomas Mokonte, what comes to mind is how vibrant you are in attacking issues of national interest. Now moving away from that, you're doing something different. And one would think, has Thomas been pushed to the wall so much that he's been diverted with focus of attacking national issues, or is it that you're enjoying something different?
Well, basically, the organization that I represent, Citizens Advocacy Network, by virtue of its nomenclature, what we do is to advocate for citizens' rights. And this is one thing that I believe falls within our mandate, to advocate for better living conditions and to actually see how such gestures could actually meet the people that they are provided for. So it is well within the remit of our job. So the advocacy that we normally do, and I would say it's also an advocacy on national concern, because the floods that affected Sierra Leone and Sierra Leoneans is a national concern. And these are Sierra Leoneans that are part of this country and who continue to suffer social injustice, I would say. This is social injustice. because they live in disastrous areas where their livelihood is very challenged, and they continue to face series of challenges in terms of their well-being. So these are all issues that we continue to grapple with, and this is why CAN really exists. So most times when we take on national issues, let's say for instance we ask government or we ask the Chief Electoral Commissioner to respect the provisions of the Constitution in relation to cancellation of results. We do so bearing in mind the fact that whatever comes out of the Commissioner's actions has a rippling effect on society as a whole, has a rippling effect on those people at Tombo, and those people at Pujeng. In all facets of society, people will be affected by such actions. So that is why we believe that the advocacy is not only limited to attacking issues or talking on constitutional provisions,
So
or
we've almost been diverted
yes,
to the
or
next,
yes,
next
no, yes,
issues.
or giving ultimatums, or just deliberating on issues around the table. But it should also be directed to community service. It should also be directed to actually meeting the people and really knowing what they feel and seeing how we could actually advocate to those people with the resources, those people with the wherewithal to help those deprived communities.
So Thomas,
to
we are
help
wrapping
people
up
in need.
now. You must have a message for well-meaning organizations in and out of the country.
Yeah, well, to all well-meaning organizations within Sierra Leone and out of Sierra Leone, I want to say the Sierra Leone Descendant Association in Queensland has actually presented a very clear example. I have seen a number of other organizations that have been doing similar gestures, but I want to say this one is, of course, a very laudable one, and I want to continue to encourage them to continue doing what they have been doing, and to encourage those organizations out there, or those people who are living abroad, who have not thought of actually bringing themselves together, galvanizing effort to support this nation or to support compatriots, to think of that, because there is a lot we could do. The resources out there, there are a lot of resources out there that Sierra Leoneans could do with here. There are a lot. We have, of course, could use clothing. We could have, of course, a lot of. You look at the medical facilities. We have a lot of other. They have a lot of opportunities out there. Even the free education. We have a lot of opportunities. We need pencils. We need books. We need pens. We need rulers, erasers. These are things that they could actually help with. Organizations out there could help with. So we are always open to partner with organizations out there, individuals who have the resources and who think they could actually impact lives in a very positive fashion, devoid of politics, because that is one thing we always stay clear of. You have a clear vision, you have the interest of the people at heart, they will definitely work. And this is one thing we have seen in this organization. I want to thank ARP Thomas, who actually contacted us on behalf of his organization out there.
On that basis, I want to say many thanks to you, Thomas Mokonte, for honoring our invitation this morning. This is the Star Good Morning Show. That's all we have time for in the Star Good Morning Show here on Star Television Network on Channel 21. The EP broadcast comes up at exactly 7. Stay tuned to this dial for the very best in all what you want to know of our country and, of course, entertainment. I've been your presenter, Hassan Kurma. Stay tuned tomorrow, same time, same station for the Star Good Morning Show.